My guest today is Jai Gobind, who is back again for a second time. If you tuned into our conversation, we last talked about how she marries astrology, human design, and gene keys to help you better understand yourself. And we thought it would be really fun and maybe a little bit risky for me to have her do a reading so you could see what it is like to get a reading where you're combining and learning all of these different modalities to help you better understand who you are, why you're here, and what you need to know that you don't already know. So, Jai, welcome so much. Thank you so much for coming back on. And I'm so excited about this and but mostly so excited about it.
I know, I know. I am really excited too. Thank you. I've actually never done this before, like live. So, yeah, I think you're going to get so much insight and it's going to be so much fun for people to watch this process kind of unfolding. And it'll explain a lot, like what you would get, if you were to, get a reading with me and how it's going to show you how I put basically all these systems together. And I flow really intuitively, and I'm sure that'll show in the broadcast. But thank you. I'm very excited to do this, and yeah.
And I'm going to just full disclosure for everybody. If you didn't watch the first interview, I'm going to put it up here in the link so that you can connect to her. So she talks a little bit more. You understand exactly what her processes are and what maybe some of these areas, if you don't understand human design, if you don't understand gene keys. But we met in Egypt and it was a very special group of people that came together. Everybody was very intuitive. And so not only is Jai coming to this from the analytical part of this is your chart, this is what these planets say, but she's also very intuitive, which is the part that I'm most excited about because that's when a reading fully goes into something that maybe it wouldn't go to if you were not as intuitive as you are.
Yes, that's a huge part that I have developed over the years. At first, of course, it was like very technical and, very focused on like all the stuff I learned in the books. And I've noticed that even with bringing the three systems together of astrology, human design, and gene keys, I kind of just flow through them. And now I can see that that's really what I offer is that intuitive side. So thank you for saying that. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
so really it's so true. And it's just like when you're trying to decide, I want to do something, but who do I invest in? Who do I resonate with? What is going to help me understand myself the best? And so that's why we're doing this today. So everybody can get a flavor of what this is like. Because I've had astrology readings before. I've kind of dabbled in human design, but I have never had somebody look at all three combined to tell me more of a full picture of what maybe drives me, what maybe I need to work on, so that's why I'm a little bit nervous because like I'm putting this out here for everybody. Like we're gonna expose some stuff. I'm not gonna edit this stuff out. Like this is just gonna be what it is. And I just want it to be real. So
Okay.
I will let you take
Love
over. This
that.
is this
Okay.
is all you now.
Okay. Okay. So I would like to ask you a question, which is
Okay.
what I do with everyone. What is it that you're looking out of this, from this reading? Do you have any like specific questions, or is there something that you'd like for us to kind of go into and cover and for you to understand better about yourself?
Okay. So without feeding you, which I mean like exposing things because I want you to intuitively be able to read what you're seeing. I was told a long time ago that one of the specific things about my chart is relationships, and that I had a specific marker within my astrology chart that meant that I was here for relationship. And I have really, really successful relationships. But in the romantic part of my life, I was married for a long time. And then I had a couple of significant relationships, but I've largely been by myself for the last many years. And maybe you'll even see in my chart where that kind of happened or why. And I would like to understand that aspect of my life a little bit more. And I think that that might resonate also with people who are watching because relationships are such a big part of why we come to have this human incarnation. And the more we can understand about it, then maybe we don't put so much pressure on ourselves about them.
Yeah, and a lot of people do have these questions because it's like you're trying to It's almost like the main aspect of being human is our relationships.
Yeah.
There's a really beautiful thing in the gene keys themselves, and it is this sequence called the Venus sequence, which is where you actually get to see where these shadows live inside relationship space that show up when you get triggered in relationship. So that's a really good place to look at. We can look at that. And then also in terms of the astrology, we can look at anything in the seventh house, which is the house of relationships. If there's anything in that space, that can point us to some understanding of how this kind of shows up in your chart. So I'm going to pull up your chart on the screen.
Okay.
And okay, here we go. So I'll point with my mouse and hopefully you guys can see this also.
Yep. Yep.
Okay,
It's coming
great.
across. It's good.
Awesome.
This looks like so complicated. There's so much here.
You know what? It's after a while, it just I get drawn to specific things, you know. But since you asked this question, it's really interesting because you do have your sun in the seventh house. Now, the sun represents the soul. It's actually really cool that your sun is at 22 degrees because that's like a master number. I don't know if you follow numerology or anything like that, but
No, explain what you mean by that. I don't know
there's
that.
just, yeah, so there's just like a frequency to your sun that wants to master something, is how I would read it.
Okay.
So where is it? It's in the sign of Taurus. So it wants to master this like energy of being grounded, finding stability, security in life. These are things that are important for you. They're important at a soul level because the sun represents the soul. Now, your sun is also in your seventh house, which is the house of relationships. And so, whatever placement the sun is in will give you deeper insight into some of the wider themes of where you came to experience this like soul understanding. And for you, it's in relationship. So, anyone that has their sun in the seventh house will experience a lot of that, you know, soul evolution and connection to their heart space too through this realm of relationship. You can think of the sun and the moon as shining lights into the spaces that they are found in your chart. So the sun is shines because it's a star, and literally it's like it gives like light. And then the other luminary in astrology is the moon. And the moon actually reflects the light of the sun. The moon lights up during the night, which represents the subconscious realm. So the moon talks about emotional frequency. It talks about going underneath the surface, seeing things, shining a light into this darker places of our experience. Wherever the moon is in your chart is where you're going to see life fluctuating the most. And it just so happens that your moon is also in your seventh house.
That's so crazy. Okay, I love that you said this because anybody can look up their birth natal chart by their birth date and the time that they were born, and they can look and see where their own sun or where their own moon is and figure out what house it's in and maybe give themselves a little bit of a sneak peek into what they're about as well.
Totally.
I've never heard anybody say that. Again, I don't remember a lot of specifics. I remember little details about readings, but that's super cool that you pointed that out. I really understand that.
Yes. The other thing is that when you look at the relationship between the sun and the moon in a natal chart, you can actually tell if someone was born near a new moon or a full moon. And you were actually born the day right before there was the day before or a couple of days before, before a new moon. And that new moon would have happened in the sign of Taurus. So essentially, what that means is that you were born during a dark moon. And that's just a more reflective aspect of your emotional experience. It's a very internal, like emotions are a very internal process for you. And just in general, the way that you express and feel your way through life is through internal reflection. It's like a big aspect of that. Now, there's also a yod, and the yod.
Oh, I'm so glad you're bringing this up. This is the only thing I really, really remember about my chart.
That's so funny. So yods in astrology we call them the finger of God, I don't know if anyone has ever
That's
referred to
exactly how it was worded to me by
it.
Deborah Silverman years and years ago, like 2013.
Oh, I love that. I love Deborah. You know, I used to teach yoga and she would come to my classes in Boulder.
What? How crazy that we both have a crossover. Yeah, she was probably I think I've had one or two other readings, but she did a reading for me in 2013. And this was before we had computers and stuff like this. We were on the phone.
Yeah.
I wasn't getting to look at all this like this.
Oh, okay, very cool. Yeah, and I since then I've studied astrology. She has no idea. But anyways, so the yod basically here, it's like these two lines point towards the moon, and you don't have to get into the details of that. And then there's a sextile here. So it's look at the degrees, right? So you've got Jupiter at 26 degrees. You've got Neptune at 27. You also have, your south node is just a few degrees away from that. And then these two lines, which are called quincunxes, they point towards your moon, which is at 25. So it's not an exact yod. It's not like not all these planets are at the exact same degree, but it's within orb, which is what how we would say it in astrology. So it fits. So essentially, this is like I have a yod in my chart too, and it's kind of like there's an aspect of your experience here on earth that is like divinely guided is how I would read it. And so you're being divinely guided. So you've got this energy of, Jupiter over here, which is the planet that expands everything he touches. He just like makes everything a bigger deal than than you think it needs to be. And he's actually with your south node. So this stellium here with 3 or more planets in Virgo represents what you brought forth from a past life that you're actually
Ooh.
here to share in this lifetime. We should all take on the information of the South Node and what planets are with the South Node and recognize that these are past experiences. They could be from earlier on in this life. They can be from literal past lives. And these are also what the places that we are actually comfortable with. It's a comfort zone for us. That's why we tend to get stuck in this space and not reach for our north node, which takes us outside of our comfort zone. But whatever lives in the space also share is about what you came here to bring from past lives to share. So having a lot of planets with the south node, especially these ones that you have, can make it like a very intense sort of past, I guess you could say. Pluto is the planet of death, change, and transformation. Uranus is the planet of revolution and change. And then Jupiter just magnifies everything. South Node Virgo is the lesson here is to let go of the need to be in control of all of the little details of life and to actually learn to surrender to the process. Like the perfection is found in the process, not in the end result, is a big theme.
Oh, interesting. I would definitely say that people have labeled me as a perfectionist in certain areas of my life.
So this is like where you feel comfortable. Like Virgo, the energy of Virgo likes to it's discern, but it's like it likes to like focus on the details, and because it is looking for the ultimate for Virgo energy is I want things to be at their best. Like I want things to be perfect. And that's not an ill intent, but what ends up happening in a shadow frequency, they get lost in the details. So it's like you came here, you know how to handle that space, you know how to focus on the details, but you're here to actually find your way towards the opposite end, which over here would be your north node at 29 degrees of Pisces. And having your north node in Pisces right now, we're just going to flow and jump around because this is what we do.
Okay. Yeah.
I pull up the transits right now. We currently have the north node in Pisces and the south node in Virgo. So you are essentially going through your nodal return. And the nodal return is all about you being called into your purpose at this
Oh
time.
my God. Jai, I can't even believe you just said that. Well, not only do I feel like my channel is my purpose, but 3 weeks ago I had an experience outside of my body through a medicine journey that was the most transformative, the most enlightening that I have ever had. And I understood on every level exactly what my purpose was. Like it was revealed to me, and it just happened like 3 weeks ago.
Yes.
Did
And
that even surprise you then?
no, because like we, also when we were in, so your nodal axis is very similar to that of Robert's.
Well, of course it is, because Robert, we're talking about Robert Everett Grant for those people who don't know, who we'll name drop him because he was the person that ran our trip. This is how we met each other, because we both went on Robert's trip. I am older than Robert by like 48 hours, same year.
But it makes sense. So you guys, so you hold this sort of like similar energy, right? But the North Node in Pisces, like basically your destiny is really to have a spiritual journey. Like you came
Which is what I've been doing for the last many years now. How crazy.
uh-huh. And anytime I see anything at 29 degrees, it's a critical degree, which means that you have to pay attention to that. It's like an old soul, especially with the nodes. You're an old soul. Either you've been here, it's kind of like you've been here, done that, but now you're here to take all this like the lessons, right? The information, because Virgo as a south node is ruled by Mercury, and Mercury is the planet of the mind. It's the planet of communication and information. So it's like you came here with information, and then you're here to have a spiritual journey by like having the actual expansive experience of the journey. It's because with Virgo we're more focused on being here now, and that's why we get caught up in the details. But with Pisces, you are like reaching out to expand yourself, so you have to trust that you don't know everything, right? Like Virgo tends to feel like I know all these things, right? Because I observe and I pay attention. But what happens when Virgo has to let go of that piece? It has a really hard time doing that because it wants to lock to what's here in front of me in the physical. I need to see it. I need to, touch it. It needs to make sense to me in a logical way. And if it doesn't, then I'm not sure what to think about that, So there's like an aspect of having the North Node in Pisces that's calling you outside of the comfort zone, and to trust more in intuition, in not
Mm,
having to like have proof of every little thing, and not
wow.
focusing so much on the little things, and actually allowing for a wider and more boundless experience of life.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Yeah,
like blown away by all of this. I really am.
I know, it's amazing.
And I'm hoping that other people, as they're watching this, have pulled their own charts and they're sitting there with their charts so they can look at their charts and they can emulate like what you're saying to kind of understand a little bit of this maybe about themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So going back to your natal chart, when we're looking at this yacht, right? It's the sextile is made with Neptune, which is the planet of intuition, psychic abilities. This is making a sextile to this energy of Jupiter and your south node, and they're both quincunxing the moon over here, saying the key is through the emotions. Like the key to move through this energy, to evolve this energy, so to enhance your intuition, to really pull the gifts out of you, is through the realm of emotion, but also action, because you have a moon in Aries, and Aries is ruled by Mars. So Mars is like, I want to act, I want to do things. So the emotions want to come out and express like very personally. This is a very individual experience of like, these are my emotions, like there's like an ownership of it in the energy of Aries. So part of that is you got to own your feelings and your emotions. And this kind of, it's, my brain's already going to like, do you have emotional authority in your human design? So let's hop on over there real quick and just take a
Okay.
look. So here is your chart, and you don't have emotional authority. You have an undefined solar plexus, but we can get more information about emotions here in this space, right? This center. And being the center of emotions, having it undefined means that you're actually very, very sensitive to the feelings of the people around you. So in essence, you are considered in human design a non-emotional being. Not that you can't have emotions or that you don't have emotions, but you're considered someone who is here to observe the world of emotion and have this ability for deep empathy, which if we go back to North Node Pisces, that's compassion, it's Christ consciousness. It's like, I feel what you're feeling. So I understand you. You know, I have compassion for you. And any of the open centers in human design are the ones that are taking the information in and then magnifying it. So you're magnifying people's emotions. That's like the frequency of emotion for you. So that's where I would look at that for a little bit more guidance in terms of, you know, where do you express this in the human design? Well, let's go back to the natal chart. And okay, so now we're here. So we have discovered that there's a lot going on in the seventh house of relationships for you. But you also have Saturn here as well. And Saturn teaches us the most difficult lessons in life.
I knew it.
He's known as the Lord of Time and Karma.
Oh boy.
So wherever you have Saturn, it's like this is where, yes, you're going to have the most powerful lessons. The lessons of Saturn teach us about becoming or stepping into responsibility,
Okay.
learning, right? And learn there's a process of maturing that happens with Saturn. So it's like it's really interesting because Saturn in Taurus would be like learning about the physical world, learning about the, you know, your environment, learning about security, learning about safety. It's like you learn by, you know, trial and error kind of a thing, how what's safe and what's not safe for you. And when Saturn comes around, when you have the Saturn return, which happens around 29 and 30 years old, and then you have it return around 60 years old, you are like going into the deeper kind of how to describe it. It's the deeper experience of that lesson. It becomes really strong and it becomes really highlighted during those times. So those are the times where you're gonna feel into this deep lesson with Saturn to learn how to step into responsibility and how to find safety and security. But there's also this desire, like Saturn represents commitment and devotion. And it's like where you want to commit, like where you came to commit, where you came to experience that. And it's in your seventh house. So, but
Oh.
because the moon is right there, it also fluctuates. So there's like these lessons within lessons of like, okay, you came here to focus on relationships, right? Sun in the seventh house of relationships. You came here to learn deep lessons about stepping into maturity and responsibility in the realm of relationships, Saturn in the seventh house. And to like throw a little wrench in it, this is the place where you're going to experience the most fluctuation in life with the
Okay, so can I
moon.
ask a question?
Yeah.
So for my whole life, I feel like I have been really, really good at relationships. I don't have conflict in relationships. I feel like for pretty much anybody I meet, I can find a common ground. And since my whole career has been in sales, when somebody could not get through to, let's say, a mean receptionist who was blocking an office, I would always find a way to win that person over. And I don't mean it like in a manipulative way. I mean it in a genuine way, because you really only can win somebody over if you're being genuine about it. And so in my career, even though I'm in sales, I have always said my true job is I'm a relationship builder. That's actually, I should have it on a business card. And I'm really good at relationships, long, like many friends that I've had friendships 20, 30, 35 plus years, and almost no conflict in anybody, even in the romantic relationships, it's not that it's been a lot of conflict. It's just that those relationships haven't turned out to be the ones to grow old with necessarily. So if I tell you all of that, does that help you in any way to help me understand what that chart is showing you? Or
Well,
did I make it worse by sharing that?
I mean, no, not at all. I mean, there's different types of relationships, and the ones that I would say are the most difficult ones are the romantic ones, because in the romantic relationships, we step into, it's like it gets a little foggy. The lines get crossed, you know. Um, we get so vulnerable, and this is where we literally like, I don't know what it is about the romantic relationships. Everyone gets like kind of loses themselves in that
Yeah.
space, you know? So if, you know, it could be that the relationships that you're not like getting lost in that space that you have clarity about are the ones that, you know, outside of those intimate where boundaries are crossed kind of space, you know? So you're probably really good at like the healthy boundaries and also understanding other people, but it somehow always happens that in the intimate romantic relationships, that becomes a little bit less clear. And it's not to say that that you can't have both. Um I would look at, you know, where is, you know, Venus in your chart to see what is the deeper desire that you're like wanting in relationship, and like what is it that you value the most in relationship. Because then, you know, you could be someone like you're explaining that feels, I don't have like difficult relationships per se that I've experienced, but I just haven't found the right person to like spend, you know, like you just said, my life with. And you have to tune into, okay, well, what do I actually want? You know, do I even know what it is that my heart wants at a deeper level? And you can look at Venus and see, okay, is there something there that tells us a little bit more about what you value in relationship? But specifically, I would say in the intimate relationships. So you have Venus in Aries, and Aries
Aries
again,
is action, right?
yes, it's a self-focused energy. Aries is like, this is about me. I am the first sign of the zodiac, and I want to experience life. I want to touch it. I want to feel it. I want to do things. I want to, you know, it's all about movement, action, initiation. And so what essentially would be the value of that? You know, when you value that in someone else, it's like you look at someone and you're like, you know, they're initiators. They, you know, they're comfortable within themselves. They are confident within, you know, themselves. They are they can do things themselves. They're independent in some way, shape, or form. And so that's what you actually value in someone else, right? And you also desire that in someone else according to the astrology, right? According to like what's here. Venus, though, is also in the sixth house. And in the sixth house, Venus is as if she was in the sign of Virgo, because Virgo rules the sixth house. And the sixth house is actually the house of being here, present, in the moment, um, again, focused on the details, you know? So Venus in Virgo, we know in astrology, actually is in is not in the most comfortable space. We call it, she's in fall position, because she's actually exalted in the opposite sign of Pisces. So if Venus is in the sixth house of Virgo, she's going to feel the energy of that fall position, which makes Venus, which is the goddess of love and beauty and like what we desire and what we value, take on that Virgo energy, which then it gets super picky. That would
Oh
be
my gosh. You have not described me at all. No, I'm kidding. You exactly described me. Yeah.
so
Yep.
so it's like very specifically, I know what
Yep.
you want, and that's not it.
Yep. Oh my gosh. Oh wow. Yes.
It's
Which
not a
is also why I will not do online dating, because online dating, I have been maybe attracted to somebody. And as soon as I meet their energy, I'm like, nope,
hmm
Nope.
hmm
I have to meet somebody in person to know if there's even an interest. It doesn't matter about the physical, it's the energy part.
And this is really good segue into looking at right here, the human design again. Because in human design, there are certain places where we feel a little vulnerable, where we're taking on other people's energy. Right? You're talking about it's in the human design talks about that it's in the actual interaction that being in someone else's aura, in the presence of someone else's aura, where you actually do the interacting.
Okay, that makes so much sense. Is this for everybody?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. But it just depends on what is your aura doing. That's important to know, which you can tell by looking at what type you are, right? The
And
type,
our screens are covering that, so we can't see. You can see it from your side, but our screens of our pictures are covering that part, which is okay. But we just can't see it.
okay, but they can see it. So you can move it. You can move the little pictures.
Oh,
Yeah,
goodness.
just grab it from the top black
Okay. Oh
part.
my goodness. I should have done that from the beginning. I didn't know. Okay.
It's okay.
There we go. Oh,
Learn,
sorry, everybody.
learn something new every day.
Learn something new every day. Love it.
Oh my God. Okay, but the type tells you what your aura is doing. Okay, so
Oh, so
you
all this time I thought that I was a manifesting generator, but I'm a generator.
are.
So is generator different than manifesting generator?
Slightly, yes. I guess you
Okay.
could say yes, it is actually very different.
Okay. Okay.
But the
Actually, I think the person that I was with who introduced me to human design was a manifesting generator, and I was a generator. And I told that story when we interviewed the first
yes.
time that he made me in the first 48 hours that we had started dating do my human design, because if I had been something else, he would not have dated me.
So intense.
So
That's like
intense.
that's hardcore. Let's
It
take
is
it to
hardcore.
the next level. So a generator's aura is enveloping. So essentially your aura is like filling up the space. It is just it does that because it has to respond to things. The strategy of the generator is to wait to respond. So what are you going to respond to if you're not like in the space? You know what I mean? If you're not like taking up the space. The other thing about being a generator is that you have the defined sacral center, which is down here, this red one down here. This is the center that says that you are an energy being. You have the energy to do the things that you love, but if the minute you start doing the things that you don't love, you will feel depleted instead of filled with.
Oh my gosh. You have described me to a T. Like, I have boundless energy when I am doing a project that I am in love with. Like, I could work all day, I could work into the night, I could do all this, but if it's something that I do not want to do, I was like, oh my gosh, it's just, I think that's that way probably for a lot of people, but is that something that people can look at these human design charts and they can see that about themselves more or less?
Yeah, if you're a generator or a manifesting generator, you have this energy in you.
Oh, interesting. So
Mm-hmm.
would that be defined by high or low energy? Because I don't want to be good, better, best, but I have often people use a very specific term when they're talking about me and my energy, and they say that I am an energizer buddy. Like, I get more done in a day than most people.
That's exactly what it is.
Okay.
So the key to know whether you're in the design or not, it's very simple. For the generators and manifesting generators, the not self theme, which means you're not being yourself, is frustration.
Oh,
And the signature is satisfaction. So essentially, when you do the things that you love, you're like the energizer bunny. You have all the energy you need to do it all, even more, an abundance of energy keeps
yes.
recharging. But when you're not, you're going to feel frustration. So if you're frustrated in life, that's you out of alignment. Literally your whole being is telling you, stop doing this thing because it's not bringing us satisfaction and joy. And that's what you're supposed to start paying attention to once you come into the awareness of your human design. What is
Wow.
that signature and not self theme?
My mind is blown by this.
It's pretty fun, right?
Wow.
So another thing about the aura, speaking of relationships, so you have anybody that has a defined sacral has this enveloping aura, which also means this, that it can be overwhelming to other people to be around that energy.
Okay, so you just hit on a common theme of two people that I dated since I've lived where I live now that both use that exact term, that they were absolutely overwhelmed by my energy. Like I had like the guy that did the human design, and he would say he would have to have time apart from me to recharge because it was too much energetically for him.
Yeah.
And I did not understand that at all.
Yeah, it's because some beings, some of the human design types don't have that, and so it's like getting run over by the bus of someone else's energy. So let me show you. It's just
This is so great. I love that we're doing this. I really hope that people who are watching are starting to understand like the value of something like this, of
right.
understanding something about themselves that they didn't really know, or maybe getting a confirmation so that now you're thinking differently about things.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so this is my chart.
Okay.
So I'm a projector. I don't have the sacral defined, which means I am a non-energy being. When I'm around generators, because the undefined centers take the other people's energy and expands it, I can feel charged up during certain like interactions with generators. But when I walk away, oh my God, it's like I'm zapped.
Like it's almost like you took the air out of the balloon.
Yes. So it's like it can get exhausting and overwhelming to be around people with defined sacral. So for example, the trip to Egypt, when I do things like that, I have to be very conscious and aware of like I'm going to need a little bit more rest. I'm going to need to take time to really just be by myself to recharge. So what this person was telling you was actually it was what he was supposed to do to stay healthy within himself, and you have different ways of like needing to recharge and things like that, but it's just an understanding of like how we're just different, like we have different needs and different abilities. For me, the reason why I have so many undefined centers is because as a projector, I'm supposed to be able to read people really well, and it's the undefined centers that can read the information around it. So by
Oh,
design, I have
interesting.
to be able to read other people, which means most of my centers will be undefined. But for
Oh,
you,
yeah.
right, you have a few undefined centers. So you do have sensitivities. You're sensitive to other people's emotions, right? You're sensitive to other people's health. Like it's very important for you to not surround yourself with people that are sick, especially like chronically sick. So being in a relationship with someone who's chronically sick probably make you sick as well. I know that sounds crazy, but energetically, right? Like there's connections. Sickness is a physical thing, but it's an emotional thing and it's an energetic thing. And the sickness lives in all the different dimensions, right? But you're
Right? Yeah.
sensitive to that, to the health and well-being of someone else. So yeah, you have to be careful. And
What's the other one, the top on top on the right-hand side?
this
That
one,
one. Yep.
this is the will center, or also called the ego center or the heart center. It has to do with willpower. So, having an undefined ego center means that you did not come here to prove anything to anyone. And you should be careful about making promises because you don't actually know if in the future you're going to keep them. Because all the undefined centers are inconsistent energy. That's why they're called undefined. It comes and goes. Sometimes you feel like you have it, sometimes you feel like you don't. So you better just not count on it at all. And that's a really hard one. That this one is really hard to, because I also have undefined ego, but for me I was like, "Oh, thank God." Like, because I don't have to prove anything to anybody. Oh, thank God. You know what I mean? Like there's a relaxed, it relaxed me, right? But it can feel a little uncomfortable and kind of confusing to be like, what do you mean? I don't understand. I don't have willpower. You have willpower. It's just you don't need to like promise things. You don't need to prove anything. So it's like relax a little bit from feeling like you need to do things to prove yourself, or, you know, you may not need to at all, is the underlying meaning
What's the
of that.
top one? Is that the crown chakra? Is
Is
that also undefined?
This one's completely open. So,
That
meaning
mean
you have no gates on it. There's nothing on it. So you can see that where you have something, it's circled, and
the
there's
number?
there's a hanging gate, right? This one, half of this channel, the channel is the 47 to the 64. So half of this channel is defined because you have a gate right here, but you don't have the one on the other side. So that channel is not complete. This channel is complete
I
because
see.
the 43 and the 23 have a planet on it for you. So when they're defined, they get a little, they activate it, and then it completes itself if the other one on the other side is also activated. So some of these are activated, right? And even in undefined centers, you can have a gate activated, but the center will only become defined if it has a complete channel between it and another center.
Right. So,
Reason why, yeah, go ahead.
so the gate part being open, what does that mean on that
So
top?
having no gates activated makes the center completely open. And what I have learned about it is that we've literally graduated from this. We don't need to worry about it at all. But there's also like a wisdom that lives in this space that can be channeled through the space about the theme that it represents. So the head center in human design is about the pressure to understand why we're here. It's like,
I'm laughing because what is my channel? My whole YouTube channel is waking people up to the power of themselves. What did I create? I created a course called Uncover Your Soul's Purpose, What You Don't Know Is Holding You Back. Like it's all about that.
so there's a wisdom that lives there for you, but it's natural, and it's not, it's like it's a knowing, right? It's an inner knowing that you didn't come here to answer the question specifically for yourself, but yeah, you can inspire others to do that. And it seems like that's what you're doing.
Crazy.
Mhm. There's one more thing that you can look at. I mean, there's a lot, but in human design, we were, focusing on that the aspect of relationships, right?
Yeah.
When you look at your profile in your human design, it tells you basically what's going to be like that interaction between you and other people. It's like it points to personality, the kind of conscious side and the unconscious side. And we all have one of each. The first number is the conscious side, and the second number is the unconscious side. So we sometimes like are aware that we have this first number and this first energy, but the second one not so clear. So what is it for you? You're a 5-1 in human design. The 5 line is called the heretic, and the first line is called the investigator. So you're a heretic investigator. And what I know about human design profiles is that the 5-1 profile is actually one of the most difficult to have. Why? Because the fifth line has a projection field. People are projecting what they think you can provide for them onto you. So people will come to me and be like, you can save me, or, you can do this for me, like, help me. I can feel like you're a leader. You hold that, you know how to fix things. You work really well under pressure. You are someone who is actually here who can like handle like emergency situations and like kind of step up, and people feel that about you, and they suddenly think you're their savior, which can also happen in relationships.
Mm.
So this because you naturally feel like, oh, I don't know how much I want to share with someone because they're going to attach themselves to me, and then I can't, it's like hard, and I'm not here to prove anything. You know what I mean? So it gets a little more complicated when you look deeper into the design, but you essentially are always being projected upon, and that's why it's a little bit kind of like a hermit energy where like I don't know how much I want to really throw myself out there because people are going to come after me, and if I don't provide them with what they think I can give them, that's when you become the heretic. So people tend to either love you or hate you. It's
Hmm.
almost like there's no in between. And when that
Interesting.
yeah, when that shows up in intimate relationships, holy moly, that can be the worst type, right? Because you would want to have a relationship with someone who allows you to be in that vulnerable space and not need you to be something for them.
Wow. Interesting. Okay.
Mhm. So this is how you interact with other people in the outside world. And the one line, the number one, is the investigator, which means that you are essentially you love researching and investigating things because you feel like you need a strong foundation of knowledge before you can really share about something, talk about
Yes.
something. Is that true?
Oh my gosh. 1,000,000%. Like when I was a pharmaceutical sales rep, I learned how to read and interpret um, studies, like clinical studies. And so throughout my life, if there's anything science, as you mentioned the health thing, like I'm all about anti-aging and alternative health, but I'll have to read the whole clinical study that showed the efficacy of it to be able to regurgitate that to people so that they can believe in what I'm talking about. So I have credibility. And so I'll have to like, when I really, really am into something, I'll have to know every aspect of it and I'll be able to talk about it. Like, you want to talk about red light therapy? I can go deep, 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 like deeper than a doctor because I've read probably 50 or 75 or 100 clinical trials and understand like
Yep.
modalities and how it all, yes. So yes,
I
yes.
love that. Yes. Perfect example. And then the one last thing that we can look at here before we kind of hop on over to the gene keys is the incarnation cross. So the incarnation cross in human design tells you it's either a right angle cross or a left angle cross. And it kind of gives you what you would say is the human design version of like your purpose. If it's a right angle cross, or a left angle cross, they have a completely different meaning. Yours is,
Wow.
yours is the left angle cross. What does this mean? It means that your soul in this lifetime chose to heal karma from past lives. So every single relationship that you have, including the close ones, especially the romantic ones, you are resolving things with this person. There's a soul contract to resolve something from a past life. So maybe the reason why you've had various of them, not, the moon fluctuates this energy for you in life, but it's because, okay, we fix that. Next, we fix that. Next, we fix that. Next. So there's an underlying theme of like you're healing karma from past lives. So maybe that's why there's not one single relationship that has stuck.
Right.
Possibility,
Right.
not that it is that way, but it possible that that's what is going on there.
Wow. Very, very interesting. And it would make a lot of sense because I know how much our past lives impact this current life and
Right.
definitely have to resolve a lot of things from that.
Hmm. People with a right angle cross, they have more of like a free sort of pick your own adventure type of life. They're creating karma that they're going to have to resolve later, whether later in this life or in
Hmm.
another lifetime. So it's not like one's easier than the other. They're just it's like well, you chose to this lifetime. Okay, I'm going to do some kind of heavy work. I'm going to heal through karma. I'm going to resolve some soul contracts. I'm going to complete things. So that's the focus of your life. Whereas for a person with the right angle cross, the focus of their life is you create you go explore, you go see what happens. You know what I mean? So
Right.
it's just
What
so
do all the numbers mean after that? So there's numbers that are right there. Yeah. Does that mean anything?
yes, okay, so that means that these are the gates where that make up your cross. Okay, so the 23rd, the 43rd, the 30th, and the 29th. And there's not, believe it or not, there's not that I at least I have found that much information about incarnation crosses in human design, but they all have
Oh.
a name. They all have like a descripted, right? Yours is the left angle cross of dedication. Well, you can kind of understand what that means, like intuitively, like, okay, if you have the left angle cross, then maybe part of the reason why you're here is you're dedicating yourself to healing and resolving past life karma, right? But that's just one little tiny bit about it. These gates, you can find them in the chart. You know, they're somewhere here in your chart, and you can go and look for them and find kind of more specific information about them. But the one place that I always tell people to go to find out all the information you need and for it to be laid out in such a beautiful way that you understand what it is in the Gene Keys.
Which is the part I think I'm most excited about because it's the part I'm least familiar with.
So the 23, 43, 30, 29. 23, 43, 30, 29.
Wow.
The same exact numbers, 5, 5, 1, 1. So this takes that incarnation cross and it brings, like, it expands the awareness of it for you to understand what. The first number is your life's work. The second number is your evolution, what you're here to learn, how you evolve. The third number is your radiance, what starts to shine through once you fully step into the work. And the last number is your purpose, which is about being, not doing.
Which is funny because if we want to marry Enneagram, I am a 3 on the Enneagram, which is the achiever. And the way that I receive love is from doing, not from being. And so I've been proving myself my whole life in all the things I'm able to do. And you can garner massive success in that, but there's also a lot of pressure. And you're telling me I have nothing to prove and I'm supposed to be being and not doing. It's the exact opposite of what I've been doing. And you're probably not even surprised because I see you laughing.
Well, I'm laughing because I'm a 4 with a 3 wing and my mom is a 3. And so I grew up with a mom who was like total go for it, go
Is
for it.
she a 3 with a 2 wing or 4?
4.
Oh, and I'm a 2 wing, so I'm the helper, which is why I'm doing the channel
Right,
probably.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. But it's funny because as a projector who doesn't have a defined energy center, who's not here to like do, I have a 3 wing. So
Which
it's,
is hilarious.
I
Oh
know.
my gosh. I love that you know about Enneagram also because we
Yes.
just made this a 4 for everybody.
Exactly. No, I love the Enneagram. I'm obsessed with it as well.
Me too.
But yeah, so there's like these oxymorons, that live within our chart, and it's fine. Like there's nothing wrong with it. So the way that I would read it is like I have a desire to actually do something in the world, to like work hard to like, make something happen, but it has to happen through my projector energy, which means I am here to be, as long as I'm following my strategy, wait to be invited, I will find that 3-line success. But it's through, so for you it's like, yeah, nobody's here to do as a purpose, but there is a life's work, and this is what we're here to do. So you're taking that energy of the generator to do this life's work, which we'll read about in a second, but to embody and just allow yourself to be this purpose. So there is an aspect here that is about doing. It's just not the purpose, which we often think is about doing.
Right, of course.
So let's actually read about these because the descriptions that you find here are actually perfect, especially for beginners.
Okay.
So your life's work is the 23rd gene key, which is transmuting the shadow of complexity to the gift of simplicity to the city of quintessence. Your role in the world is to help others by making their lives simpler. You can do this in many different ways, but the prime way is through the way you talk. When you speak, you're able to distill things down to their core, making you invaluable to many people, either as a friend, a teacher, a parent, or a business person. You are at your most potent when you say less and wait for the right moment to express yourself. When you do speak, it cannot be planned, but must be a natural response or invitation to the moment. In a world that is becoming more complex and serious by the minute, you are here to release the pressure on people's minds and resources. Your soft touch, clarity of insight, and knowing smile is much needed and will be welcomed everywhere.
Wow.
That's what you're here to do. So it's like when you go into when you so you, the job, the homework is you have to get the book, the Gene Keys book, and you have to read this, and you have to read what does he mean by complexity, what does he mean by simplicity, and what is quintessence, and that opens up the awareness of like, oh, okay, and then you have to ask yourself, where has this shadow shown up in my life? Where has the gift shown up in my life? What do I feel when I'm in the shadow? How do I feel when I'm in the gift? Because these are energies that live within us and we're flowing through them from the shadow to the gift until we find the awareness and then find compassion for ourselves when we're in the shadow and really excitement and expression when we're in the gift because we know that that higher frequency of us is reaching a higher potential. Right? Like even in the Enneagram, it's like, well, you have the part of you that's in what do they call it? It's not a shadow, but it's got a specific name. It's not coming to me right now, but they have their own version of like a shadow and a gift, right? It's just like there's a low expression and a high expression of each of the numbers.
Right. You're operating either healthy or unhealthy
Yes.
within,
Okay.
is that what you were thinking of? Healthy or
Yes.
unhealthy within
That's
your
exactly the same as
sphere.
this.
Yes. Okay.
Exactly the same. And so they each have this healthy, unhealthy version. So, okay, well, let's move to the healthy version. Become aware of the unhealthy version, bring yourself into compassion in that space, and then step into the healthy version of who you are. So, so this one will unlock the next one, right? With the next one, the activation sequence, which is all the green ones, is the evolution sphere. So when you work on like this is the place where you're going to have the deepest breakthroughs in life, at this evolution sphere, this shadow, okay? It goes from the shadow of deafness to the gift of insight, and then eventually the city of epiphany. And it's what you're here to learn. And this is one of the most difficult lessons that you will experience. It's like we know when I say, oh, it's a Saturn lesson, kind of feels like a Saturn lesson because it kind of hits hard. Mine here is impatience. And when I read that, I was like, ooh, that kind of hits hard because I know I'm impatient in many ways. But learning to find patience is the gift. So I can love myself in those moments of impatience so that I can step more into patience, right? So you're working with deafness, insight, and epiphany. So here's what Richard Rudd says. What the balance to your gift of self expression is a rebellious spirit that every now and then cannot be contained. Despite your gifts, you simply cannot help breaking patterns and finding new ways of looking at things. Your test in life is to live with this dangerous spark inside you. You may go through long phases in which your life seems to be moving in a single direction, and then suddenly, unexpectedly, everything changes and veers off in another direction. Because you know the spirit inside you, you are able to understand the fear of change in other human beings. Your life is about learning to love the unexpected and trusting the part of you that doesn't know where you are going and why. As long as you listen to your innermost voice, the soft, strong voice, you will always feel at ease, even in times of great transition. And it
Hmm.
has to do with opening up to listening more because it is the shadow of deafness to the gift of insight. So,
Interesting.
so then you start to do work. You start to work on this consciously. When I say do work, I mean you read it, you think about it, you contemplate it, you ask yourself those self-reflective questions. That's what I mean by doing the work. So you start to have some breakthroughs like, oh, I was being a little deaf there. And see if maybe I can listen a little bit better. Or the reason why I have this Jinky strong in my chart too, in my human design. But maybe the reason why I was closing off to this is because there was something that was going to take me away from an insight that needed to come to me. And that's why I couldn't listen to anything else. So there's two situations where that can show up. But how you start to shine and radiate is this one. And it's the 30th gene key that goes from the shadow of desire to the gift of lightness and eventually to the city of rapture. So,
That sounds exciting.
right? What keeps me healthy? It is of great importance that you really enjoy your life. Life for you is a deeply sensual experience. You are a voyager through experience and therefore need to explore as much of life as possible before you die. The food you eat may not always be good for you, but as long as you enjoy it, you will feel full at the end of your life.
Oh my God, this is so me.
Everything about your life tells you to forget the future. There are people who stock up for the future, and there are people who live entirely for the moment. You are the latter. Every experience, whether it causes agony or ecstasy, pleasure or pain, deepens your inner radiance. In time, you will glow from within with the sheer sensual mystery of life. As you let life touch you deeply, you will stop trying to control the outer direction of your life. All that matters to you is the inner direction, and that means letting go and letting go. Enjoy your life and revel in the love that surrounds you and those whom you meet along the way. So,
Really interesting because I feel like in the beginning of my life, I did not embody this at all.
mhm,
But I would say since 2012, and even more specifically in the last 9 years of actually moving here to Arizona, I'm definitely embodying that so much more. I am a planner. The future isn't something I can just forget, like financially, fiscally, super
right.
responsible, all those
Mhm.
things. But I am definitely not like my parents have a freezer full of stuff. If the power went out and we had access to food, I'd probably die in 2 weeks. I really don't have enough, but I am a foodie, so it'd be like we couldn't just eat anything either. So
Really funny. I think I'm the same. Um, but anyways, so now we're starting to go like deeper and deeper, and now we end up at the actual purpose, which is again about being, not doing. And this purpose for you is the 29th gene key that moves from the shadow of half-heartedness to the gift of commitment and eventually the city of devotion.
mm,
Your purpose. You are here to learn to love the unknown. At the highest level, you are a devotee of life itself. The greatest things for you will always be your relationships. To love another more than you love anything else is the way and art of devotion. There is a force that moves through all human beings, and you are here to discover that force and set your whole trust in it, wherever it may lead you. Your life will lead you into trials and into dangerous situations where your trust will be tested. You will learn about fear and its limitations. As long as you put your faith in life as it moves through you, no experience can hurt you. In fact, every experience you have becomes the very thing that shatters your heart open. The more deeply you allow this to happen, the more you will align with the real hidden purpose of your life.
wow. You know what that made me feel as soon as you were getting towards the end of that? I have probably embraced this in the last maybe 6 months, like really embraced this. And that is that everything is happening for me and not to me. And not just the good things, but all the things that I would have previously labeled undesirable, bad, unwanted. They all are happening for me. And I'm not super good at it all the time, but I'm really, really getting to the place where that is so much more the mantra that I'm actually subscribing to.
I love that. And same for me as well. It's a progression, it's a natural progression when you again start to just have a little more compassion for the human experience. You So I want to end by pointing, just kind of pointing you in the right direction of where would you look for the sort of like the relationship stuff? Because your question in the beginning was about, I'm trying to understand this
Yeah.
relationship aspect of my life. And in the gene keys, there's a sequence called the Venus sequence, which is all the red spheres that
Okay.
guides you. It's like the map of your wounding. So just to talk about it in a general sense of what this actually tells you, and so maybe to inspire people like, oh, maybe I want to look into this because this might give me some deeper insight into how I relate to others. This purpose, which is the purpose of your life, becomes the purpose of your relationships. So this essentially says that the purpose of your relationships is to transmute the shadow of half-heartedness to the gift of commitment, and eventually the city of devotion. And this is where it starts to get really like, okay. So then this moves up to the attraction. Who do you attract to fulfill your purpose? What experiences do you attract in relationship to fulfill this purpose? People that activate or trigger the shadow of greed within you that needs to be transmuted into the gift of aspiration and eventually the city of ascension. And if you're like, well, I don't understand greed, what do you mean by that? This is where you have to read the chapter in the book that expands on this word in ways that you could never even imagine. Richard Rudd is like a poet. And this is why what makes the Gene Keys is the chapters in the book that describe what these mean. So you can start with your first sort of, okay, I kind of feel like I understand what this means. I don't know exactly how it applies into my life. You know, a lot of times what we're going to what we're going to experience when we look at the shadows is like, I'm not like that. I'm not greedy, you know, like I'm not half-hearted. You know, like we get triggered by like these words.
But isn't that kind of the scale, Jai?
Uh,
Because just like in Enneagram, you're operating at different levels. And
yes,
maybe as you learn more, understand more, grow in yourself, you go from being the half-hearted. It's just showing it like what are the words that transcend that from
yes,
half-heartedness to commitment to devotion, where it's poor, medium, and best as
exactly.
far as how you're showing up for that. Does
Yes,
that make sense? Is that correct?
that's correct.
Okay.
Yes, that's how you want to look at it. You don't want to get stuck in the whole like, that's not me. I'm not like that, blah, 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 because then it's just the resistance, right? So
Sure.
you want to move through that resistance and actually, okay, how does this show up in my life? How has this shown up in my relationships? So the next three, the IQ, it's called the intelligence quotient, the emotional quotient, and the spiritual quotient. These three talk about like the shadows that begin to show up when you're in when something happens and you get triggered, right? So the intelligence would be like, this is like they relate to the emotional trigger, the mental trigger, it's like, and the physical trigger. It's like, and all these are like how you try to defend yourself. It's like you put your sword up, you know, like no. Okay. So in this sphere, it's the shadow of control. In this sphere is the shadow of impatience. And this one is control again. So this one is a really important one for you to read. When they
I
show
don't know
up,
what you're talking about.
when they show up more than once, they're just like highlighting importance. Make sure you
Yeah,
study this one.
totally get it.
Yeah. And
100% spot on.
so this
I
is,
may have been called a control freak in a couple areas of my life,
my
maybe.
God, that's hilarious. So this is so right. So this is so you get so you try the defense mechanism is you try to stay in control and you might get impatient when you get
Mm.
triggered, right? So this is how this shows up. So your job is the reason why that's happening is because you are learning to step into authority and valor and patience and timelessness. But the reason why there, you know, there's a shadow is because, well, we chose, these are the lessons we chose for our soul to evolve. And this will only happen when you're in relationship. It's not going to happen when you're in isolation or not in
Oh, thank
relationship.
you for saying that. I want to say something that I've said a long time. I'm getting ready to create a video on this
Mm,
because there's more to it with consciousness. But I will say that I've said forever, you can only truly know about yourself when you have interactions with others. If you're a
100%.
deserted island, you might understand, hey, I have the ability to defend myself and feed myself and self-preserve and survive, but you wouldn't learn and grow very much. But then you show up on my deserted island and now you are expanding my thoughts and having deeper conversations, and together we're growing, learning, and expanding. So
Mhm.
I think it's super important part of relationship.
Yes. And this is literally what the Gene Key says. Like the deepest growth in relationship will happen in this way, in this progression. And then when you get to the final one, this is the core wound. So this is at conception. So this is the decision made by the soul at conception. My core wound is to heal the shadow of compromise to the gift of competence and the city of bounteousness. So
Hmm.
so when you there's a timeline to this Venus sequence as well. The core wound is the moment of conception. The SQ is the first 7 years of life. So this shadow showed up during the first 7 years of life, was kind of like this trauma that was ingrained. Then the next 7 years would be this one. And then from like 14 to 21 would be this one. And so there's a timeline there as well. So there's a lot of like things like hidden within, this information. That's why it's so much that you really want to take the time with each sphere, because you're going to sit down and be like, whoa, that was a lot of information when you finally read the spheres. And you also want to make sure you go in order. I literally spend an entire year going through this with people in my moon goddess training. So it's not something
How cool is that?
I
What
know.
is your moon goddess training?
It's the most comprehensive program that I offer, where I teach basically it's the ultimate self-empowerment program, because you learn your astrology, you learn your gene keys, you learn your human design, you start the experiment of like, okay, if I try to live by my strategy and my authority, what's going to happen? You find the awareness of that. But we're also learning Hermetic alchemy, sacred geometry, laws of the universe. It's like a mystery school all wrapped up into one, but meant to help you step into your like ultimate gifts. And in the end, you learn to read the Akashic record, trusting your intuition gifts, and that you can only discover by learning all these things about yourself.
Wow.
But anyways, you can see, I mean, it's like we go on and on and on. But you just want to make sure that you go in order. You start with your life's work. Like if anyone's watching this video, like what just happened? Just go to this first one, read the chapter of the gene key that's in this spot, and this just take it in, sit with it, give yourself time to process it. And that's how I would approach it. So yeah, I feel like we kind of reached a point of kind of conclusion. And ultimately, what you would do next is you find you look for what inspires you about all these things you learned about yourself, and you can take it into further self study. So after going through all that, tell us a little bit about what you're feeling, what's your response to this information.
Well, I feel like it's a big confirmation for things that you already knew, except it puts a spotlight on it in a way that lets you examine it maybe from a safer place, from a non-judgmental kind of a knee-jerk, I know that I do that, and almost giving yourself grace for how you've shown up in certain things because it was part of your design, not necessarily because I'm a jerk and I was young and I did XYZ. So that's one part of it. The other part of it is just also having a place to go where you can dig deeper to understand more. The gene keys, I said I was least familiar with. Now that book and seeing that design and how it all works, to like unravel it and go step by step and understand things better. I think anytime you can understand yourself better, you then show up in your relationships better. And then it helps you to understand other people and not react in negative ways. That's kind of what Enneagram did for me also. But to then also marry the three of them, because I think people get very wrapped up in, I'm this sign and this is my astrology and that's me. But then we've also uncovered that no, that's not just the only thing. And then there's crossover that confirm and help understand at a deeper level through the human design and then through the gene keys. And even we mentioned Enneagram because it's just another way to look at yourself. So I think that this is really, really helpful for me. A lot of it was confirmation, but then again, maybe just giving myself some grace for the journey and also to let go and maybe not have to be so much in control and just let the process kind of unfold and not be so out of the present moment, but into it, which is what we talk about, but that's been a little bit of a struggle for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's the ultimate goal, at least for me personally, right? Like everyone, whatever you do, you have a reason for it. For me, I just like to inspire people to exactly what you just said. Like, just understand yourself better. You know, you can see if it resonates. You can, if you feel a desire to go deeper, then go deeper. Like, you got to trust that those like inner kind of instinctual things that take you to these places of self awareness and self reflection that can, yes, help you find your way towards the happiness that you actually want. You know, it doesn't mean you have to do this. It just means that this is an option. This is a tool that can be used by anybody to see if, like, well, maybe you'll find some answers here that you were looking for. But more than anything else, yes, the confirmation is amazing. You know, hearing things that you kind of already knew about yourself are really important. But I think the deeper message is to know that the biggest place that you're going to make change in your life and you're going to actually step into the healing that you want is through the self awareness. So someone can point you like, oh, this is you, this is, you know, these different aspects of you, but you have to be the one to really sit with the information and like integrate it. And for me, of all the three systems, the one that can really help you do that as like a self-study kind of way is the Gene Keys. So that's a great one to start with if you're like, I don't know, what, you know, what, just start with the Gene Keys and see what unveils for you.
Wow, Jai, I am so grateful. And I would imagine that people are watching, if they've gotten this far, they're going to want to understand how to connect with you, what your moon goddess training, like when does that start? When, when can connect with how to do that or how to, interact with you on a personal basis. And I will put everything in the show notes, but how can people find you?
You can find me at Channel for Grace on Instagram. Channel for Grace is the name of my YouTube channel. It's also my website, channelforgrace.com. And the Moon Goddess training, I do it once a year. So right now we're in the middle of level 1, but I just had a lady join us. So you can catch up with everything with the videos and, you know, there's replays for everything. And I make it all very accessible and it's a very organized way of like, you can find everything. But that would be the next one would start next year, next February. So we do like level 1, and then in the summer we do level 2, and then in the fall / winter we do level 3. So we kind of have space in between. Well, that's that program. But you know, if anybody wants to get a reading, you just get on my schedule. It's on the website.
Excellent. Well, I have thoroughly enjoyed this. I have learned things that I've never heard anybody talk about before. So obviously I'm recommending this and I wanted to share this with everybody because I knew how powerful it was going to be. So Shai, thank you so much. I want to thank you for what you're doing to help wake up the collective, because when we know more about ourselves, I think we do better in the world.
Yes. And you're welcome. And thank you so much for this opportunity. This was super fun to do for you.
Super fun. And thank you everybody for watching. Next up, check out this playlist of other NDE interviews. Please like and subscribe. It really helps this channel to grow so I can bring you more content. Thank you for watching. I'm so glad you're here.